Hey everyone, and welcome to our first live of this month, this theme. So I know we're halfway through March, but we operate on every 5 weeks. So welcome to our first live of our new topic, which has been voted on by you guys, is all about changing perspective and the importance of changing perspective to help us move forward. And one of the things I'm going to talk about today, so I want to do a little bit of a different session today. And I want to welcome anybody who's tuned in. If you want to join me for just a couple of minutes just to discuss certain points that crop in today's session, then I'm going to put the link in the chat. So if you want to join, I think I want to make this a bit of more of a community and a bit more of an engaging session. So if you are tuned in, I would love to, if you've got any points or perspectives that you want to share, here is the link. You can click that link and that will bring you into the studio. We can have a brief conversation, 2-minute chat on your perspective. And then if you want to drop off, you can drop off, or you can stay on and we can bring some more people on, maybe have 3 or 4. So I want to do something slightly different today to try and get you guys involved and engaged and get more people on the screen so we can really hear your thoughts, your wisdom. I've realized so much wisdom, so many thoughts, so many great perspectives and energy is put in the chat and it stays in the chat. So I want to pull you on today and let you be part of this live on screen. So there's the link. If you do want to share anything, if you want to join in the conversation, share a bit of your personal experience, share a bit of your wisdom, your thoughts, your perspective on what it is we're talking about, then the link is there for you to join. Apologies, I am a few minutes late. We have just recorded another excellent podcast episode where we looked at single tasking and multitasking. So really good discussion came out of that. But we're here now and we're ready to talk about changing perspective. So today's title is Truth, a Matter of Perspective. So I want to talk about truth. I want us to get thinking about what we mean by truth. What is truth? And how, when we start to understand what truth really is, we can learn to change our perspective. So the first question I have for everybody who's tuned in is, how do we define truth? What is truth? Truth, the truth. How do we define it? What is it? Let me know your thoughts. If you want to come in and share your definition of truth on screen, the link is there. Can everybody see the link? So you can type it in the chat. Let me know what your definition of truth is. What is truth? How do you define truth? Or you can click the link. You can join me on screen and you can share your message of how you define truth. Does anybody want to be courageous and try it out? So let's make sure the link works for starters. I could be offering something that doesn't work technically. Vijaya says truth is something that you believe in based on facts. Now that's an interesting thought. So truth is something that you believe in based on facts. So what are facts? Is my next question. How do you define a fact? And your mind might go to something that is true. So then I go back to, well, what is truth? So let's see how we can break this cycle of truth. So how do you define truth? So if you think truth is what you believe in based on a set of facts, then my question is, how do you define a fact? We're going to get deep today. We're going to have some really good discussion. See where this takes us. So I've got no tips. There's no take this away, do this action. Today is going to be a discussion about truth and how truth is a matter of perspective and how we can start to change that. Priya has saying truth is the actually reality of a situation. Adele is saying fact is something that is visible. Is a fact always visible? So I'm in a bit of coaching mode here as well. Fact is what you have data on. Okay, and where does that data come from? So for example, Adele, is it fact that the world is round? Have you seen that? Is it a fact that the stars are what we think they are? Or is it opinion? What's the difference between a fact and opinion? Because we tell ourselves that facts are the truth, that facts are true, and opinions are opinion, and it's not necessarily the truth. So I hope I'm getting you thinking today. Does anybody want to come on screen? Anybody want to join me and take that step, see if the link works, and explain a little bit more about what they think truth is? Data comes from sources that we believe in trust. So believe and trust. Frank Adams says, I don't see anything. Are you just all chatting before the webinar? No, Frank, I'm here. We're here. I don't know what's going on. But I'm hoping that you can fix it. Maybe, I don't know if you can see it. It's one of those moments where I feel like I'm speaking and there's no point in me speaking because you can't see me. But if you can, if someone can just message, or I can message Frank just to ask him to refresh. Please refresh, Frank, we are live. Because there's no point in me advising him what to do if he can't see me. So one of those moments. So just go back to Vijay's point. Data comes from sources that we believe in or trust. Okay, so what makes us believe in those sources? Where does that trust come from? Why do we see that as being true? So going back to truth again. Vijay says, what is truth? That is the question. What is truth? How do you define it? Facts have proof. Opinion is we believe or has been shared. So what makes the proof behind those facts true? Opinion is we believe or has been shared. But some of us can believe opinions. Some of us can buy other people's opinions that we believe to be truth. So for example, let's just use an obvious example. Do ghosts exist? Do we believe in ghosts? Who believes in ghosts? Let me know. Let's put this into a practical example. Frank, I went out and got back in. Fantastic. Thank you for the advice. Adele, appreciate that. What is truth from your perspective, Paul? So I'm going to get there in a second, Vijay. I just want to pick everyone's brains on how they define truth. So we've got a mix of things being shared here. So we're saying truth is based on fact. Truth is the reality of the situation. Facts is something that is visible. Facts are what we have data on. But who's to say those facts are true? So the question I asked is, do you believe in ghosts? Who believes in ghosts? Let's just have a look. And if you do believe in them, have you seen one before? Or are you buying that from someone else's opinion, do what somebody else has seen on that source that you trust? So Adele's saying, I do because I have seen ghosts. Okay. So because you've seen it, that becomes true. But I've never seen a ghost, so I don't believe in them. So it kind of goes back to what you're saying there about how fact is something that is visible. Ghost is an opinion which we were made to believe it is there. Okay, so it's an opinion that we believe that is there. So we've got a skeptic as well. Okay, but if you've seen a ghost, Priya, would you believe in them? So what is truth? So Frank says, I think there are ghosts, but I've never seen one. Okay, and what makes you believe that it to be true? So going back, we're trying to define truth and what truth is. You know, there's a statement that I really like. It's a philosophical statement that's put through, and it says, this statement is false, true or false. This statement is false, true or false. Vijay says, I haven't seen any, so I don't have any belief or disbelief towards that. Okay, so you're not taking an opinion on that. So again, what's the facts and what's the opinions behind whether or not ghosts exist? So I'm just putting ghosts in here as an example because you all said truth is based on facts and not opinions. But how do you define the difference between opinion and a fact? So what Adele is saying, she's basing it on facts because she's seen it. But then if I was to believe in ghosts from what she's seen, then I'm just buying her opinion and taking her word for it, going back on what the Jaya was saying earlier on, whether or not you trust the source. So whether or not I trust Adele, I would take her opinion on the matter. Priya says, I don't know what a ghosts look like. I wouldn't know if it's a ghost or not. A good question. That's a good observation, Priya. You don't know what they look like, so how do they look like? The truth in a story situation, I believe, has three sides: your side, my side, and the truth. So I do like that. And you're getting to the point that the first point I want to make today. So the topic of today is truth is a matter of perspective. And just going deep into what Adele was saying there, one perspective of the truth is the midpoint between two perspectives. So truth can be the midpoint between two perspectives. So as Adele's mentioned there's three sides to every story. There's Adele's side, there's my side, and then there's the truth. So what do we mean by truth can be the midpoint of two perspectives, or the midway? Frank says belief is different from known. So how do you know something to be true? How do you know something to be true? What's the difference between belief and knowledge? Does anybody want to join me and have a bit of a discussion? I was really hoping someone would come on the screen today. So before we lose it, I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to paste it back in. So if you do want to join and have a bit of a chat and be on and explain your point a little bit further, I welcome you today. I want us to do a bit of a different live. We can have a chat and a discussion. So if you click the link, you'll come here and we can have a bit of a conversation. You can clarify the point you're trying to get across, because I think it's a really good discussion, and it's good for us to start to think a little bit deeper on truth, because I honestly believe that truth is just a matter of perspective. And one of the things that we can get caught in the trap of is a collective truth, which is dictated by majority and dictated by society. So society is what creates a collective truth, and that's what we believe. The majority always wins. So one of the examples I like to use, and Alan Watts talks a lot about this, he uses this example in one of his talks, is if you had a ball in space, infinite space, you would never know whether or not that ball is moving. You could not tell that the ball is moving. It's in space. Even if it's moving, you would never be able to tell. Because when you learn about space and infinite, you start to realize that infinity is just direction. So you put a ball in space, you never know it's moving. Okay, you add another ball in space and both balls are moving, or one ball is moving and one isn't, you'll never be able to tell which ball it is that is moving. So you've got two balls in space, one of them's moving, one of them's static. You won't be able to tell which one it is that's moving. Okay, you throw a third ball in and you have three balls in space. Let's say two of them are moving and one of them's not. Then which ones are moving, if two of them are static and one of them is moving, then the majority wins. So majority will always create something known as a collective truth. We're always searching for a collective truth because we want to be on a level of understanding with other people. We want other people to believe what we see as being true. So when we're searching for truth, going back to the point I was making, is truth is the midpoint between two perspectives, going off what Adele shared earlier on, that what was it you said exactly? So there's three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth. The truth is the midpoint of that perspective. So Adele's saying she believes in ghosts. I'm saying I don't believe in ghosts. So how do we find the midpoint that maybe they exist or they don't exist? The midway between that perspective. And it's one of the things Zen masters do. So Zen masters, in order to bring people from extremes and start to get into that space of observation and awareness is if one of their students come to them with an extremist view or a very deep-rooted opinion about something. So let's just say they come to the master and say, I believe in God. Then the Zen master will reply and say, I don't believe in God. Just to start to bring them to that midpoint of understanding that no one actually knows whether or not God exists. No one actually knows whether or not ghosts exist. It's a matter of opinion rather than fact. And okay, yes, some of us might have seen ghosts, and that's a fact to your eyes. But as humans, until we see that, we're not going to believe it. So the way in which Zen masters try and bring their students to that midway, in which they call it in Zen, is they will always take the extremist view to what the student's bringing in order to learn them that there is a midway between both opinions. So Frankie says knowledge is something that can be verified. Okay, so can you give me an example, Frank, of a piece of knowledge that you know that's been verified? Vijay says, makes me think, why do we need that midpoint of the perspective? Is it for decision, acceptance, or something else? And that's a good question. We walk around every day and we try to sell our opinions to others. And whoever buys it, we get to that midpoint, or whoever buys it, we become more connected with. But when you start to look at life and you start to look at facts, it's all a matter of we're sharing our opinions, and we want people to buy our opinions. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes we step away. For example, using Adele, she believes in ghosts. She can try and convince other people, get people to buy the opinion that ghosts exist, or she can just accept that ghosts exist for her, because truth is a matter of perspective. And what's true to you might not be true to somebody else. But that's not to say that their element or their definition of truth is right or wrong, or incorrect or correct, or positive or negative. That's just what they believe to be true. And we always want to buy people. We always want to create this collective truth. We want people to understand that this is fact. When what is a fact? And I know, Frank, you're going that knowledge is something that we can verify, but Adele's verified that she believes in ghosts because she's seen one. So that's, but is that a fact? We still kind of elicit from that ghosts exist is a fact. But Adele she can justify that for herself. So that's her truth. But then who are we to say that her truth isn't true? Because it's true for her. And when we start to get to this understanding that there is no such thing as a collective truth, there's just a midpoint between opinions, observations, and perspectives, we can start to let people live, let people have that. Why do we need to try and destroy or change somebody else's perspective of truth? Why do we need other people to buy into what we believe and what we see? And it's this fact that we want people to believe what we believe, we want people to be aligned with what we are aligned with, that causes the majority of society's problems today. I don't want to get into deeper discussion, but this is one of the problems that religion causes. Because the religions fail to understand, or extremists within religions fail to understand, that their belief and what is true to them is true to them. And that's fine. But accept that somebody else's version, somebody else's truth is true to them based on what they've seen, the perspectives that they see the world through, the experiences that they've had, their childhood, what they've gone through. We all see the world through our own experiences, through our own eyes. And the only people that can tell us whether or not our belief is true, whether or not something is fact, is ourselves. We need to come to that own conclusion. So everything you're sharing is really valuable. We're talking about looking at data, looking at facts, looking at knowledge. Yes, we take all that externally, but we really need to think within. We come to our own conclusion. When we find that inner voice, we come to our own conclusion. We stop buying the opinions of other people that shape our beliefs, and we come to our own conclusion, our own analysis, our own perspective. We step into that place of observer, and by just observing the world, we can come to better conclusions. So I'm just going to go back to the chat. It's wonderful to see you, Shannon. Thank you so much for being here. So Dell says, you won't believe it until you see or experience it yourself. Also, do not expect people to believe if they haven't. If they don't believe, that is their truth. Exactly. Such an important point. Jai says, is it for power or influence or some acceptance? Anyone who does not agree tends to become a topic of conversation and judgment. Yeah, they do. People, it's majority, it's herd behavior, it's trying to get people to become that collective, part of that collective truth. And we tend to outcast people if they don't believe in what we believe in. And is it for power? Is it for influence, or is it for acceptance? It's a really good question that you're asking, Vijaya. So what are our thoughts? Why do we want people to buy into our perspective of the truth? Do we think it's for power? Do we think it's for influence? Or do we think it's for acceptance? Let me know. Does anybody want to come in and join me today? I feel like you're all leaving me stranded. I was hoping we could get, because there's some really good wisdom, some really good points and perspective. And I'd love to have someone on the camera so we can talk about this a bit further. Okay, so truth can be seen as the midpoint between two perspectives, and we need to understand that what is true for us isn't necessarily true for someone else. So I had a bit of, that was annoying me. Isn't necessarily true for someone else. And we need to ask ourselves that question is, why do we want people to buy into our opinions? So Sabina says, something true to your perspective might be untrue to others. Expecting people to believe what is true to you is not good for you. It's not good for anybody, but we tend to, as humans, we tend to do it. I think an important point to bring into this as well is manipulation. Okay, so we always outcast people. We always hold people. If we see people playing games or trying to manipulate other people, we always label manipulators as being bad. Okay, but one of the things we fail to observe is that everybody in life manipulates. And you might jump and say, I don't manipulate. I'm not a manipulator. But everybody in life is a manipulator. Because when you look at the definition of manipulate, it is making moves or doing things in life to go the way that you want life to go. By example, asking people to buy into your opinions. It's a form of manipulation. You want people to follow what you do. You want people to get involved with what you want to do. That's a form of manipulation. Manipulation is just doing things in life to go along with how you want life to be or how you want your life to go. And when we're trying to sell truths, when we're trying to sell opinions, whether we mask them as facts or opinions or whatever, all we're doing is we're playing a game of manipulation. And we're trying to pull people into our collective truth. Vijay says the basic right for living our unique life through our choices is sort of taken away in the pursuit of acceptance. What do you mean by pursuit of acceptance? Shannon says, I have spirits here that I feel often, and that's fantastic. Someone else who believes in ghosts and spirits. Shannon says, is it because it makes us feel something and we want the other person to feel how it made us feel, even though they will never feel exactly how we feel, as we each have a different experience? That could be one of the reasons, Daniel. I just want us to start to think deep on this. There's no right answer, but how do we just start to just maybe get a different perspective, understand that everybody has different expectations, different perspectives, and why we need to really sell our opinions and truths to others. Why do we need everybody to see things from our perspective? It's great to put yourself in the shoes of others and see things from other people's perspectives, but why do we need other people to see things from our perspective? Why can't we just accept? Going back to Vijaya's point, I'm not too sure the sort of taken away in the pursuit of acceptance. So for me, there's a difference between acceptance and validation. So I think going back to what you were saying there, Vijaya, the basic right for living our unique life I'm going to pull that conversation up. So the basic right for living our unique life through our choices is sort of taken away in the pursuit of, I would say, validation in there. In pursuit of validation, we're looking to be, we can use the word accepted into groups, accepted into whole crowds. We want to be accepted in society. But what we really want to do is we want to be validated in society, because acceptance would be to accept that people have their different perspective, accept that you have your perspective without having the power or wanting to influence your perspective on others. And there's a difference between being forceful with your opinion, being forceful with your perspective of the truth, putting your thoughts onto other people, than just sharing what you observe. There's a big difference between sharing an observation and trying to force or put on an opinion to others, or trying to convince them to believe us. And when we do that, when we try and convince people to buy into us, to do it, it's a form of manipulation. We were talking about this in one of the chats we had the other day about marketing and cognitive bias in marketing, how they play on people's to sell. A lot of marketing is just a full game of manipulation. Judge's pursuit of acceptance, being a part of the herd. I thought that's what you meant. Yeah, definitely. But for me, we're avoiding acceptance there. We're seeking for validation. We want to be liked. Then it says companies want you to buy into what they believe works for money. Exactly. I'm glad you kind of brought that up as I was saying that there. Companies advertising, marketing, it really does not align with my values. I've been doing a few bits and bobs on trying to learn how to market and things like that recently, and it is just a game of manipulation. It's a game of people trying to tell you what is the truth, what it is you need, what you must have in your life right now, and we have an urgency to try and buy into that. So the important point I'm trying to get across today is that truth is just a matter of perspective, and you have the power of choice. You can choose whether or not you want to buy someone else's perspective, you want to buy someone else's opinion. That is your choice, and other people have the choice to buy yours, but we shouldn't influence, try and push, or shove our thoughts and opinions on other people. And this is what I really love about our book club in particular, but Coaching Minds in general, is we all have different views, we all have different perspectives, and the majority of the time, nobody's trying to push a perspective or a view on somebody else. Sometimes we do, we're still on that learning curve. Sometimes it does happen, but we respect each other and we respect each other's differences and the different views in which they have. And this is how cultures can get along. So what we see in one culture, what's right in one culture, might not be right or perceived right and correct in a different culture. But then we can accept that different cultures are different. They've stemmed from different principles, beliefs over a period of time. So that's how we learn to respect other people's cultures, other people's religions. It's all through acceptance and realizing and letting go of that need to want to push our truths or have people buy into what we believe. Then it says they want you to buy into what they believe because they want you to be part with your money, because they want you to part with your money. Yeah, no, they're aiming to get your money, but some companies, they will still use cognitive bias even if their intentions are right. They'll still, maybe the product is right for the world right now, but then again, that's from their view. They might honestly believe that what they've produced, the service that they're offering, I can hold my hands up and be honest with Coaching Minds. I feel that we're making a difference and we can help other people, and we're here to really uplift and make people feel safe and secure in the community that we're creating. But that's just my perspective and my truth. And I shouldn't push that onto people and tell people that they need to be part of Coaching Minds to really grow and build their community. There's certain ways in which we do it. So it's a deep-rooted, we can go in loads of different angles here. It's quite a deep conversation, but I just want us to get us thinking about this. The need to sell our truth, the need to have people look at things from our perspective, the need to want to have a collective truth. Because the other angle I want to bring it on today, and I'm bringing this a little bit earlier than I thought, is with collective truths, with trying to find that collective truth, is that possibly just a red herring for our desire to be united? We are all connected in some way or another through the universe. We are all connected. And I honestly believe that inside we all have this need to be united, and through unity and through our ego. So, as Adele's mentioned here, which is nice, is maybe our ego that needs feeding. So, the need to feed our ego, we find incorrect ways that we think are bringing us to united, but by uniting us together, we're actually creating division with anybody that falls outside of that. So maybe it's our ego's way of feeding that need to be one, to be in unity. So Sabina says, if you can accept yourself, then there's no need of acceptance from others. Exactly. Do not influence your life with someone's untrue truth and vice versa. And exactly. And it comes down to really understanding who we are. This is why we're on that personal journey and why we're constantly looking to grow and become the best versions of who we can be. And I'm not going to say the best version of ourselves, because we can constantly strive for better. There is no best version of us. There's only a better version. Best is kind of end result, but just get better and better every day. But by understanding who we are, by really understanding what is important to us in life, by understanding our core values, our principles, what motivates us, what drives our behavior, becoming aware of who we are as people, letting go of all the crap that we've taken on from other people and external sources. We let go of all that, we strip it all, and we find out who we really are, then we can accept life. We can start to look at things from a different perspective, a perspective that we're open, that really promotes unity. But when we've got mixed values, when we're picking up values from other people, when we're imitating, when we're comparing, when we're doing all this stuff that isn't great for our soul, we become lost and we don't know who we are. We don't know what's true, what's not true, because we haven't really fully understood what's true to us and got to that place where we can come to our own validation, do the knowledge, do the facts. So Sabina says, I think we have a strong power of choice to choose over things, options, opinions, perspective we have surrounded with. We do. We've got to find that power of choice, and we've got to recognize it, though. Because we can, and I've mentioned this a few times, but I think it's a really profound and important quote from Confucius, and it's a man that makes truth. It's not truth that makes a man. So I'll say it again: a man makes, or a person. Let's get it right. Change it slightly. A person makes truth. Truth does not make a person. So a person makes truth. Truth does not make a person. My perspective and what I pulled away from that is that people will be more influenced and will gravitate to you rather than the message or the facts that you're portraying. So you're more likely to believe something from a person because of the relationship you've built with them and who that message is coming from, rather than the message itself. So going back to the point, Frank mentioned knowledge, Adele mentioned facts, Vijaya mentioned facts. Let's just say the fact, you're more likely to believe that fact from someone you trust. Okay, but you're also more likely to believe an incorrect fact or an opinion from someone that you trust, because it's that person that makes the truth. And even if the truth is there and that fact is fact, but if that's coming from someone you don't have a good relationship with, or you don't trust, then you're less likely to believe it. So a good quote to really note down and reflect on when you're thinking about truth is that of Confucius, which says, it's truth that makes a person, not a person. No, sorry, it's person that makes the truth, not truth that makes the person. So Vijay says, when we sell our truth by bringing down someone's worth, that is something to reflect on. No, 100%. 100%. And we can go deep into looking at the intentions behind why we want to sell these truths. Maybe there's an element of insecurity. What is it? What is it that our ego is craving that we need everyone to believe what we believe in? Does anybody want to come on camera and talk? I feel like I thought today would be good to get people on. I thought it was a good topic to get different perspectives. So if you do, I'm just going to put the link in again. Maybe the link isn't working, or you're all being shy. But if you do want to join in and just give a little perspective and a thought. So think about when you've actually done this. When have you tried to convince somebody to buy into your perspective of truth or buy into your opinions? So Daniel's saying he'll come on. That's fantastic. So the link's there. So hopefully if you just click that link, you should pop up here. So when have you tried? Give an example. So we've got Daniel in. That's fantastic. Hey Daniel, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
I just resonate with what you're saying about that quote. When reflecting on it, I'm more likely to believe something because I trust the person.
Yeah, no, 100%. We were talking about this. It was yourself, Andy, and myself on the podcast episode about when we're going through and we talk about likes and follows on social media, that we like the post because of who the person is that's posting it without even thinking about reading the content of what the message is that's being shared. We just like it for being part of us and because we trust them and we love them and who they are. But no, so have you got any examples of when you've done that in life where you've trusted a message from the person just because of who they are, rather than because of the message that they're putting across?
So I've had it somewhat more the opposite effect. So I've distrusted something because of somebody I didn't like, even though they were telling what that they thought was their truth, and what a number of other people thought was their truth, because they were sharing things, and I'm like, don't no, you're not really telling the truth. I come to that conclusion because I didn't really like or resonate with that particular person. Similarly, I know I don't like to keep bringing it up, but our government, we've trusted them with so much, just because of their authority, and we think that they have our best interests at heart, so they're going to be telling the truth.
Now, that's a really good point that you mentioned, actually, in terms of authority, because I truly believe that authority can kill dreams in terms of, and not just from government, but if we believe too much what our parents are saying, what our teachers are saying, or people that we regard as being, higher or more authoritative than us, we believe everything they say, and the messages aren't right, they can stop us from achieving our dreams. If we really trust our parents and our parents are saying, you'll never be able to do this, you haven't got what it takes to do this, then we're more likely to believe that. But if it was someone random, let's just say someone who's just joined Coaching Mind, someone new is saying, oh, you'll never be able to achieve this, Daniel, you're not going to listen to them because you haven't held them into that position of family. So again, I think it's such an important point to note that these people, and I fell into the trap in previous years of disliking somebody just because of the truth and opinions, not even the truth, because the truth is a matter of perspective, but just by buying the thoughts and opinions of someone else without even giving that person a chance to to just get to know that person, because we put that trust in the people. So we can actually block ourselves and cause lots of confusion and bad decisions because of putting too much trust in people rather than thinking for ourselves and coming to our own conclusions and analysis. No, thank you, Daniel. Is there anything else you want to share?
Yeah, so no, that's everything.
No, fantastic. No, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you taking the first step. Does anybody else want to join? I'll let you duck off, Daniel. And if anybody else wants to join and share something, then it'll be great. I was really hoping we could get a few people, and this live will be a few faces coming up and sharing their perspective. Does anybody else want to take the next part? Let me know. So the link's there. You can see it in the chat. So Dell says, how much influence does a group or famous person have? They can have a huge influence. We've talked about this. What Daniel was just mentioning there in terms of authority as well, they can have a huge influence. You look at, for example, Elon Musk. Whatever Elon Musk is saying now, people are just following for a bit. They just go and do it. And who's to say that everything, yes, he's successful, he's the richest man in the world right now, but who's to say that everything he says is true? We find something to gravitate towards. We've always got to remind ourselves that we need to have that more of an objective view on things and always think for ourselves, come to our own conclusion, our own analysis. So you've asked that question again. That's fine, Adele. Thank you. That's one of the things that motivational speakers, This is one of the things I'm always conscious of when I'm giving talks. And this is why it's so important as a life coach not to give advice, because that person's putting their trust in you to help them move forward. But what worked for you doesn't necessarily work for somebody else. But they need to be careful that they're not becoming that point or that place where people need you in their life. I honestly believe that we all have our own thoughts, we have our own answers, we have our own direction. Only us can decide how to move forward. We don't need somebody telling us this is what we need. We don't need somebody telling us this is what we have to do, what we must do. I always talk about how some some motivational speakers and gurus, they can play a game of manipulation in terms of trying to tell you what it is you're missing in your life, and then telling you that they're going to be the ones that are going to help you get there. And this is why coaches need to be careful as well, because as a coach, you might guide them, you might act as a bit of a light or help them turn their own light from within, but they're fully responsible for their success. It's them that make the progress. It's them that make the difference. They're the one putting in that hard work. They're the one making the choice to invest in getting support from somebody else. Everything they do is them. When we try to tell ourselves we were the person that guided them, we were the person that changed this life, we were the person that did this, then we're bringing our own ego into that space. So whenever we put ourselves in a position of authority, or we find ourselves in a position of authority, we need to be careful with our influence, and we really need to caveat that. It's one of the things I share a lot because I enjoy talking about these topics, but and I teach some things, but I just want everybody to realize that they have their own power within them. They have their own perspective. They have their own experience. They have their own element of truth. They have their own answers within them, and they're purely capable of achieving whatever they want to achieve if they're willing just to let go of all the stuff that they've kind of pulled or listened to from external factors and other people. I really want people to come up with their own perspectives to share. And I think this is why I love the book club, because there's so many different perspectives that go on. Okay, any other thoughts? Does anybody want to jump on live and talk about something, share a perspective, share a thought? Because the last thing I just want to mention is that truth is all in the mind. We believe and we tell ourselves that truth is physical reality. We're looking for some kind of truth out there, but the truth is all in our mind. And how we perceive things is what determines whether or not it becomes reality. Our perception is what creates reality. It's not reality that creates our perception. Bit of both in some ways. For example, if it rains, why is it uncomfortable to get wet? Why do we feel like it's uncomfortable? When it's raining, why do we think it's bad? When we get wet, why do we label that as a bad thing? It's only because our mind tells us it's a bad thing. It's our mind that tells us it's uncomfortable to have wet clothes. It's uncomfortable to get wet. But when we change our perspective, when we change our view, then it's not true that the rain is discomfort. We can tell ourselves there's comfort. To a still mind, you will be comfortable in the rain. It goes back to thinking about, Daniel, your perspective, how Karen changed your perspective when we met in Durham. When it rains, everybody's just trying to wait for it to stop. There are people running around. It creates a bit of an energy and an atmosphere when it starts to rain. But then I think back, and Daniel and Karen, you were just going out and enjoying it, dancing around in it, jumping around in the puddles, just having fun with it. And it all comes from perspective. The perspective is in our mind. Truth is in our mind. So Sabina says, everyone fully responsible decide what is good for them, choices to choose from, perspective to view things from different direction. No, 100%, 100%, Sabina. 100. Am I saying that right? Sorry, it's been a long morning. I've been sat on this chair since 7:30, and it's now 12:30, session after session. So, but no, 100%, Sabina. And the two important points today is, we have that power of choice. We have our own perspective, and we need to execute. We need to stop buying other people's opinions and think for ourselves. But also on the other end is stop trying to sell our truths, our opinions, and feeding our ego onto other people. Those are two important points today. Daniel Hinmo says, society influences our perspectives and our mind fixated on those perspectives. 100%, it's what we see, what we hear. We can allow society, we can let governments, we can allow other people to change our perspective and influence our perspective, but we can take it away. We can step away from that, and we can start to develop our own perspective. And you look in the history books to anybody that's made some real positive change, that's made a difference, a huge difference to the world. It's because they've seen things differently from society. Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, all these people have made a real difference. They had that different perspective. They've seen things differently. They believed in themselves, and they didn't buy the opinions of everybody else, and they executed their own, and they made huge, massive difference. We believe it to be true. It's all in our mind. We have a choice to say this is true, this is false. Thank you very much. It was fun when we changed our perspective. 100%. You enjoyed it. I remember the videos. I remember I was one of those, but I didn't enjoy the rim. I'm just using this as an example. I was one of those that ran to the car and got back to the house quickly. But you and Karen got there a little bit later because you enjoyed it. You embraced the rain. You danced in it. You changed your perspective to what it meant, and you brought yourself back to enjoying the moment. I'm just using the rain as a simple example, but we do this with everything in our lives. We get that perspective, and then we attach, as soon as we attach something to that thought, some kind of label that this is positive or negative, then what we do is we become tainted, and that becomes the truth. So going back to the feedback, we did a webinar on feedback. Ultimately, people can give us constructive feedback, they can give us positive feedback, but the only person that really provides our mind and ourselves with feedback is us. We're the final point of call. We choose what we accept, what we don't accept, what we want to listen to, what we want to take forward. We're that final point of call in feedback. Okay, so some good discussion, some good thoughts. I hope I've got you all thinking about truth and what truth actually is, how we all have different versions of the truth, and it's not for us to try and convince others of our version, and how we need to stop buying versions of anyone else's versions of truth and perspectives of truth and come to our own version of truth. And I'm sure you've all seen it, but one of the best ways and simplest ways that this has been illustrated on social media is that picture where you've got two guys. It's a number 6, and obviously one guy's seeing it from a 9, the other guy's seeing it from a 6, and they're having that debate and that argument. And that shows that neither of them are right, neither of them are incorrect. That guy's saying it as a 6, that's a truth for him. The other guy's saying it as a 9, that's a truth for him. So that's the best way to illustrate the simplicity in a simplistic way of how truth is a matter of perspective. And as soon as we understand that truth is a matter of perspective, we can respect other people's perspectives, and we can change our truth if we need to, if that truth makes us feel uncomfortable anyway, or we're not happy with what that truth is that we've told ourselves. So Sabina, just going to bring up your comment. I'm going to bring this to a bit of a close. I'm guessing nobody else wants to join. So thank you, Daniel, for joining me and sharing your thoughts and experience. A really good point made. I'm going to give one last opportunity for anybody. I'll stay for a couple of people if they want to come and just share their thoughts and be on camera. That'll be fantastic. But if not, I'm going to bring it to a little bit of a close. So Sabina says, we are focused on our surroundings, what people would say, what we lack is going inside, and seeing things from a different perspective. Now, we do become too focused on our surroundings. And I think one important point just to note is, as humans, sometimes we're programmed to take the easiest route. And the easiest route is never to go against the grain and follow society and follow its impact. But if we want to stay true to ourselves, we want to make a difference, and we want to be, we want to have our own power and our own versions of the truth, then we need to go against the grain, and sometimes we need to step outside of society. How far we go, again, that becomes the choice of ours. But thank you for sharing that, Sabina. Okay, so I'm giving one last chance. So here's the link for anybody that wants to join. One last chance to be part of today's session and share your thoughts on what truth is, how truth is a matter of perspective, anything, any experiences that you have, any points or wisdom you want to share. The link's there for you. So it's up to you if you want to join. I'm going to just hold for a couple of seconds to see if we get someone jumping on. So take it away, reflect on truth. We've gone from truth is facts, but then facts are what is true. So there's a bit of a cycle there. We looked at the data, we looked at the difference between fact and opinions. We've looked at how truth is a matter of perspective, how we should find our own perspective, how we should not buy perspectives of other people and be careful of the perspectives that we buy. We've looked at how truth is, how man makes a truth and how truth doesn't make a man or person. So we've covered quite a lot of good stuff today. So I want to say thank you to everybody for sharing your wisdom, your thoughts, your energy, and your time today on your Sunday. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, slightly different. I was hoping we could get more people on the camera and we could have a discussion and you can share your thoughts. But we've had a good discussion, lots of good comments coming through, different perspectives. I hope it's left you thinking about truth and our matters of perspective. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Daniel, for coming on camera and sharing your thoughts. Absolutely amazing to see you and hear from you. And I look forward to connecting with you all in our community and through whatever events we've got going on. Lots going on. So I'm sure I will connect with you in the next couple of days. So have an amazing rest of your weekend and have the most fantastic week ahead. And I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Thank you, guys. Bye.